Welcome to the Porn Reboot podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Emezi, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode.
Have you ever wondered what a man who is in the late stage of his reboot feels like? A man who has moved from the middle stage, which is filled with doubts, which is filled with uncertainty, which is also filled with very interesting and sometimes new types of slips and relapses, into the late stage. A stage where there is clarity, a stage where there is so much more control, a stage where you actually begin to look backwards at who you were and begin to realize all the mistakes you were making. If you've ever wondered, today I have a treat for you, because today I'm actually going to be sharing a post from one of our brothers in the intensive group who is quite obviously moving from the middle stage of his reboot into the late stage. This is not my content. This is something a brother shared. He shall remain anonymous, but I'm going to read what he shared because I think it is a beautiful expression of progress in one's reboot. And he says, "Reboot because of the man it's going to make you. I believe the true superpowers we gain are self-awareness and self-mastery. I can't describe the joy and peace I gain after sitting with my strong emotions and letting them pass through my body, being okay with stillness and alone with my thoughts. I'm able to see how pretty much 99% of people I know, including the ones I put on a pedestal, have all kinds of issues, and everyone is messed up. How much freaking shame and guilt I felt for comparing myself to unrealistic idols and internet influencers whom I knew nothing about. I don't believe anything I see right now. The clarity I've gained about how I literally drove myself my entire life through guilt and how that's the worst way to change my behavior. I was never addicted to porn. I was addicted to unrealistic standards and didn't respect my humanity, which drove shame and guilt. I was addicted to shame and guilt, not pornography. Little porn thingy was trying to relieve me from all the pain I was trying to run away from. It was simply a coping mechanism. That's all. I have no resentments towards my reboot. I used to see it as this task I have to do each day to remain sober and not relapse. And that was the shame manifesting itself in resistance. A task most normal people wouldn't need to do because they're not infected with this compulsive behavior. But I have to do it. I have no way of competing in life because I'm wasting my time with these silly exercises. And oh man, the guilt I multiplied each time I slipped in my mind. I wanted to make it more painful so that I would never slip again. The perfect person who is always productive, who doesn't waste time, always has energy, and does everything like I'm supposed to be. Logically, I was treating myself as a human who is allowed to make mistakes, but subconsciously seeing myself as God, which isn't fair. Reminding myself of all the money I've paid to be in this group and all the missed opportunity at work to make it more painful, thinking that this would prevent me from future relapses. Little did I know that it fueled all my future relapses. I was literally feeding the next relapse, and it was only a matter of time until I actually acted out in a moment of low energy or low self-awareness. Or I would listen to YouTube videos from uneducated people who knew nothing about addiction and how they would just remind me of all the things I've lost in life due to this addiction. The disastrous thing is, it'll literally help them grow their channels because That message literally echoes the guilt voice most addicts have. So it would resonate with me, and I'd feel like this expert must really know the answer to my problem, which was the opposite and only harmed my self-image and drove me back to numb my pain. I was in such denial. I'd go look through these nofap communities and think that if I can just have 90 clean days, I'd be done with this behavior once and for all. And I'd look through to find people who report that they would relapse after 1 to 2 years and then think, why would someone still have urges to relapse after being sober for 1 to 2 years? This simply means that this is not real recovery. This is all just marketing to sell the idea of recovery, but it doesn't exist. I'll continue to battle with urges for the rest of my life. Yes, these were all irrational thoughts and denial voices. Now, I know just abstaining from porn, masturbation, and orgasm does nothing. True rebooting happens by doing the work which would eventually get me to a point where I don't need pornography in my life. I used to think that when JK says, don't beat yourself up for slips and just see them as data, I would think to myself, yeah, of course he won't tell his clients they suck and continue to mess up because they'd leave. So he's trying to make them feel good about themselves and not hurt their self-esteem. All of these were my truest addictions, not pornography. Having this ideal time when I'm going to be fully rebooted and thinking that once I get to that date and have XYZ days under my belt, that I'd be fully recovered, I can move on with my life. All of that was shame. Rebooting isn't an end goal. We'll always want to reach a new destination once we achieve the first milestone. A few things I feel have made a huge difference for me, and I wanted to share. Number 1, share, share, share. When I resented sharing or doing the daily exercises and so on, all of that was shame and feeling unworthy. Sharing works wonders when you literally share without trying to make it look better than it actually is. We all have blind spots which we can't cover and face consciously ourselves. Do not guilt yourself. Number 2, for the love of everything, guilt only makes things worse. That's what we've all been doing for years. And it's proven itself by showing that it doesn't work. Practice self-forgiveness by doing some kind of act to show kindness to yourself, even if you have to pretend it at first. Be nicer to yourself. Number 3, sit with your strong emotions. Strong emotions for me was my biggest reason that I was addicted in the first place. There might be other reasons, but this was the strongest. It'll suck at the beginning, especially when you sit with your irrational fears, but letting them process through your body is what's going to make them go away. I honestly felt like I was going to die as I was releasing the shame and guilt. I was okay afterwards, but they've not been the same strength since then. I think I can say I've made a few breakthroughs in my reboot because I'm able to see porn for what it actually is. Before, just the word itself would give me urges. And lastly, speaking to brothers who need to hear the reassurance because I was one of them. Recovery exists and is possible, and we can get to a point where we can see pornography for what it is, a coping mechanism for strong emotions and craving real intimacy with real people, not pixels. And I'm writing this as a reminder to stay humble and honor my humanity, and hopefully it may give value back to other brothers. That's where it ends. This is from a brother who's currently in our intensive group, and I mean, it's powerful stuff. In fact, reading it again, I'm going to copy and actually print it out because this brother has just encapsulated, I think, some of the very strong sentiments of brothers in the group. Gentlemen, there is freedom from this behavior, and we are ready to speak to you whenever you are.
I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out-of-control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot Group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.